Over the past few days, we talked about the New York Times proposal for reforming America's housing system, including using factory-built modular homes that can be quickly installed on site. In fact, China has mastered these technologies for years. If the US and China were willing to cooperate, America's housing crisis would not be so difficult to solve. But the reality is that the US refuses to work with China, and the problem keeps getting worse. 1. Hamilton's Shelter Village. From social project to costly fiasco. Let's start with an example from Hamilton, Ohio. The city launched an outdoor shelter village to house its homeless population, 80 residents in 40 modular units. The project's budget exploded from the original $1.4 million to $2.8 million, and now may exceed $7 million, a five-fold increase. Even worse, the village was meant to be a temporary solution operating for only 2 years, yet from the beginning, there was no exit plan. Where would these people go afterward? No one knew. The site itself had been an industrial lot contaminated by previous uses. Residents soon developed skin problems. The city knew about the contamination but chose to ignore it, because cleanup would cost several $million more, instantly blowing up the budget. Then came the contractor, a company that claimed to be a US firm with a Canadian indigenous subsidiary. It turned out to be a classic shell company. Recently registered. No real office, just a rented desk, no manufacturing capacity. And all the units were actually imported from China. To save money, the company ordered summer-grade units from China. Thin walls, poor insulation, not meant for cold climates. The homes even had Chinese labels stating, "Not suitable for winter environments." When winter arrived, the units became uninhabitable. The city had to spend even more money hiring local contractors to reinforce them. But US labor is extremely expensive, making the reinforcement cost higher than simply buying proper winter-grade homes in the first place. The result? More money spent, worse outcomes delivered. Now the community is asking, was the city truly deceived, or was corruption involved? Investigations are underway, but no one has answers. 2. A similar story in Europe, the Czech drone scandal. A parallel case emerged in the Czech Republic, a company founded in June 2022 with only $800 in registered capital, and 2 employees bought cheap civilian drones from China and resold them to the Ukrainian military at 20 times the purchase price. Cost of drones from China over 3 years, $1.7 million resold to Ukraine for $33 million profit, $27 million. Most of the profit was quickly wired to a Hong Kong account, leaving only minimal funds in the Czech Republic for rent and the assistant's salary. Even more outrageous, the company did not file corporate tax or VAT at all. The Czech government has now detained the owner and charged him with tax fraud and money laundering. And who ultimately pays the bill? The taxpayers of Western countries that fund Ukraine's military spending. What makes this more absurd is that if Ukraine had used the entire $33 million directly to buy drones from China, they could have purchased 18 to 20 times more equipment, a quantity that could materially change the situation on the battlefield. But instead of letting China earn a little money, they preferred to let shell companies earn obscene profits. Storn. The cost. Ukraine's disadvantage on the front lines. Ein Brian. A longer war. Western taxpayers unknowingly financing massive markups. A broken supply chain logic. From drones to Boeing parts. This pattern appears across sectors. US law forbids aerospace components made in China. So what happens? America buys from Italy. Italy buys from India. India buys from China. India even created a dual system. Titanium parts sold to Airbus. Cheap aluminum parts passed off to Boeing. Airbus inspected the shipment, rejected the aluminum pieces, and only kept the titanium. Boeing, however, didn't even inspect them and installed the aluminum parts directly. This eventually contributed to a space mission failure that left 2 astronauts stranded in orbit. All of this, simply because the US didn't want China supplying the components. 4. The structural problem in Western democracies. The core issue is structural. Western political systems lack a central authority capable of addressing these systemic failures. City government corruption, state governments can't intervene, defense procurement scandals. Everyone knows, but no one can be held accountable. Former presidents' families involved in influence peddling. Laws remain powerless. Democracy's ideal is checks and balances, but in practice it often becomes, everyone has power, no one has responsibility. By contrast, China, whatever one thinks of its system, can at least centralize decision-making, assign responsibility, enforce discipline, and implement solutions quickly. In the US, everyone knows the corruption is real, but no political mechanism exists to resolve it. America's greatest advantage, however, remains this: these problems can be discussed openly. In China, a scandal of this scale would rarely see public debate. In the US, corruption in Ukraine aid pipelines, Obama-era spending projects, Boeing and defense contracts, political families, has gradually become part of public consensus. Now the US faces a critical question: will it continue insisting on the symbolic position of not letting China earn money, or will it return to pragmatism and prioritize efficiency and national interest? Because if the current path continues, America's infrastructure will fall behind, the economy will fall behind, and eventually even the global status of the US dollar may erode. Where America goes from here, that's the answer the country must confront. This is the Hamilton Modular Unit, compact, prefab, and economical for temporary setups. Procurement and field operations increasingly rely on off-the-shelf drones like this for survey and inspection. Material choices like titanium versus aluminum alter cost, weight and life cycle in high-pressure systems. From procurement to public impact, equipment choices ripple through budgets and outcomes.